Hi, my name is Vie, and I am the author of Memoirs of a Forgotten Child. If you have been with me for the last 10 daily vlogs, you know I'm doing a vlog countdown until my book release on February 14th, known as Valentine's Day, this coming Sunday. Yesterday, I talked about the reactions I get because of the book, and today I'll be talking about sexual abuse and the difference between men and women who have gone through it. When it comes to acknowledging that it happened and you don't want to keep it secret, women tend to want to feel safe before they let you know, or they want some type of trust where they know that what they tell you won't be used against them, or they want trust to know that outside of their confidentiality with you, that you're not going to tell. Men tend to pretend like it doesn't affect them, or they may really believe that it doesn't affect them. And if they do tell you, it will be totally out of the blue, totally random. Usually when they come to terms with it, it's something that is said like a confession. It's something that's been burdening them, and they just tell you just so that you know. And it's not something expected. It's not like a woman who says, I have something to tell you, I don't know how to take it. From my experience, men tend to be toward that middle age era of their life. They may be reflecting on life, like I said, and they may be like, oh, this happened to me. But in my childhood, this happened to me. And they'll like skate over it, and they won't really detail. They won't tell you how they felt. They just kind of just drop it on you. And those are the experiences that I personally know from men who have confessed it, from boys who have confessed it to me. And it's a hard process when you are a male compared to when you are a female, because there's more sympathy, there's more empathy when you're a female. But when you are a male, people tend to look at you like, what's wrong with you? Shouldn't you have enjoyed it? Shouldn't you have been okay with it? And if you've been taken advantage by a male, if you have potentially abuse from a male, people tend to look at you like you probably wanted it. There was a signal that said you were okay with it. You were probably easy prey. Deep down inside, you probably liked it. And no one talks about how that messes up your self-esteem, your self-confidence, how it confuses your sexuality. Not a lot of people talk about these things, and it's not something we should as a society laugh at or just dismiss, because if it's not okay when a girl or a woman has gone through being violated, then why is it okay when it's a boy, when it's a man? That's just not right. Other men, they will do certain behaviors where you think something might have happened, but they won't outright tell you. 2 examples I made in the book was this young boy that I went to school with, and he was very flamboyant. In my book, I describe him as a RuPaul type of character. Very feminine, very outgoing, very over the top. And I always knew there was something off about him. I mean, it was clear because we were kids, we were in 2nd and 3rd grade, and he was very, yes, before that term was even, in existence. Though he was kind of strange to me, I always allowed him to, kick it with the girls because he was more comfortable with the girls, and we'd learn things from him, and he'd just critique us and whatnot, and he was just a cool person to be around with. And then months later, on a field trip in my after-school program, his sister tells me that he was taken advantage of, and not by a babysitter or family friend. It was his own father. And from that traumatic situation, it just kind of curbed his sexuality. That made him, very feminine. He has feminine attributes to him. He relates to more on the female side. And when she told me this, I never told anybody. I mean, it's in my book, but I don't put his name. I don't put anything that would point out who this person is. And that's just one example of how men who have been traumatized, who have been taken advantage of, they either have questionable behaviors or they are a little sexually confused. And girls tend to be sexually confused too, but you don't really see that until high school age. When it comes to girls, it has to be a trust factor. It has to be something that's relatable. They have to be able to be comfortable in telling you this, or they just won't tell you. But if, like I said, once you've been there and you know it, it's kind of like a radar, you can pick up on it. So they may not tell you, but certain behaviors, certain ways that they say things, beating around the bush, you pick up on those cues and you know. There's one instance where it's not in the book, it'll probably be in the next book, where I used to hang out with this girl and she had a reputation, and she's like, walk me home. And I'm like, girl, it's supposed to be like 11 something at night, about to be 12, which I shouldn't have been out, but I was. And I was like, I'm not going to walk you home. Like, you live all the way on the other side. It's dark. I don't want to be there. No. And she's like, well, your stuff is there. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll get it tomorrow because I'm not going to go there. And she kind of flat out just threw it at me like, oh, if I get raped again, don't worry about it. And it took me back because at that time I wasn't trying to process my own violation, so I wasn't ready to hear anybody else's. And when she told me that, it was like, what do I do about that? Like, what is my response? Being a teenager at the time, I didn't have a response for her, so I was just like, whatever. But it stayed on my mind, and now as an adult, especially being a psychology major, I could really dissect her attitudes and her behaviors and attribute that to her being taken advantage of, and it makes sense. When you see it from a wider perspective, when you do study behaviors, you start to see certain things that make sense to you now that it didn't back then. And I know my book can help on both sides because it's not about who's right and who's wrong, where you point your finger. It's detoxing, it's exhaling, it's walking in your truth, it's being able to say this has happened to me and it has shaped me, but it is not determining me. This is not the end all be all. Like, I can continue to be a functional human being. I can continue to be having healthy and loving and respectful relationships. Like, I know my boundaries and whatnot, and I don't allow people to come into my life and want to harm me. And I also take cues that are red flags and I take them as warning. And it's not to blame the victim, and it's not to set the perpetrator free. It's about speaking your truth, and it's about confronting the past, confronting the trauma, so you can live a better and healthy life. So on both spectrums, where it's a boy, a man, or a girl, a woman, both can get something out of my book. Both sides, they can realize their truth, exhale, start the healing process, and move on with their life. Because I don't want anybody to just be stuck on, I was violated and I just can't move on or do anything outside of being violated, because it's just one part of your life, it's not your whole life. So that is my daily vlog. Hopefully it helps you, and if it didn't help you, hopefully it helps someone that you know. Like I said, I am doing daily vlog countdowns until my book release on February 14th, also known as Valentine's Day, this Sunday. I hope this video helped. And like always, be blessed and see you